Good day. So this is chapter 13, Trusted Assistant. Ethical dilemmas in this chapter: communicating on behalf of the manager, taking advantage of your position, using the manager's name, access to company's resources, conflict of interest, in-house politics and secrets, the loyalty of trusted assistant, handling sensitive information, boundaries of trusted assistant. Introduction. In the past, as a trusted assistant was referred to as a secretary. In this information age, secretaries are trusted with every sensitive information and computer access. Therefore, we refer to them as trusted assistant in this book. The relationship between the trusted assistant of the manager and the staff and the colleagues of the manager is very different. Prior to email, if a trusted assistant told their manager team to do what to do, they probably would not listen unless it came directly from the manager. Today, trusted assistant control the email and other communication mechanism of the manager. In short, there is a lot more power in the hand of trusted assistant in this information age. Communicating on behalf of the manager. It is common for trusted assistant to speak on behalf of their manager through email or other electronic means. Managers do not always have time to check everything. Their trusted assistant communicates via their email, which may lead to mistake or serious miscommunication. Communicating via email for the manager. You are a trusted assistant that responds to your manager's email under his name. There are literally hundreds of emails every day. Being conservative. There are many dangers inherent in speaking for the manager if you do not possess their expertise. Being liberal. Handling routine email is acceptable for a trusted assistant. When the email is more complex and specific, it is best for the manager to respond to ensure the accuracy. Handling the manager's email can be scary for a trusted assistant, especially when it requires them to communicate with senior management and the risk of making mistakes. Most people would consider this task part of the role of a trusted assistant. As long as the assistant knows the manager well and does not send miscommunication, this practice is ethically acceptable. Making mistake when speaking on behalf of the manager. You are a trusted assistant trying to respond accurately to an email about a high-tech subject you know a little about. The hazard of responding your manager's email is making mistake to your response contained glaring error. Being conservative, it requires you to confess that you are responded to your manager's email. Otherwise, your manager will suffer the consequences. Being liberal, mistakes are inevitable. Check with your manager regarding the correct answer, then verify the name of the recipients. Human beings make mistakes. The best thing to do when you make mistake communicating for your manager is to tell them and let them decide how to handle the situation. Allow management time to remedy the situation. Email list and distribution of information. You are responsible for emailing details of sensitive information to your senior management distribution list. Other employees at the company want this information, set them as well. They do not understand the confidentiality of such data. It cannot go out to anyone who is not on the list approved by your manager. If the senior executive who is higher ranking than your boss requests the information immediately, do you send it to them or do you wait until you can ask the manager first? Being conservative, senior management has the authority to override the word of your manager. Provide the information requested and send a communication immediately to your manager explaining the circumstances. Being liberal, following procedure concerning confidential information must be exact. It is risky situation since the person in question is senior to you and your manager. This is an example of high circumstance where regardless of the choice you make, you run personal risk. As a trusted assistant, you may find yourself on a tight spot occasionally when you are in control of the distribution of sensitive information. Others want access to the data you control. If someone junior to your manager requests the information, the answer is obviously no. However, the issue is complicated when you must fill the request the management senior to your boss. Both the liberal and conservative responses are within an ethical range of acceptability. Taking advantage of your position. Trusted assistants have gained a lot of power since the advent of technology. They have the most information because they access the majority of the information that the manager accesses. With this power comes responsibility and abuse. Getting ahead by association. Does it work for or against you? You are the trusted assistant for the CEO of an information technology organization. Due to the workload, break time is limited. You are hungry, so you run to the cafeteria and get the line in front of everyone else that is awaiting. No one says anything because you are the trusted assistant of the CEO. Being conservative, it is never appropriate to presume special privileges. This may work in your favor at the cafeteria but will work against you later. Being liberal, as a trusted assistant of the CEO, you have the incredible demands on your time and others understand that. Utilize the pool you have to make your life easier in the face of such a hectic schedule. Using your status can work for and against you. You may find sincere sympathizers and people who want to kiss up to you because whom you work for. This type of be supportive and helpful to you. On the other hand, they may be a lot of behind your back talk to you will have to deal with someone serious resentment from the other employees. Using the power of a trusted assistant to the CEO ultimately falls into your hands. Remember, when you abuse power or show off, it generates resentment that will eventually come back to haunt you. Using manager's name, should you play the game? You work for the high-profile president of an information technology business. This business specializes in complex mathematical trading floor calculation system. During the average day, you drop your manager's name many times to get the job done. You toss it around when you speak the hotel's reservation and, and when setting up conference call. The reason you do this is to get the best deal of your manager. His status impresses others. Being conservative. One of the key rules of the trusted assistant is to ensure the privacy of your manager. Being liberal, just be cautious of being bacon for the media. Try not to broadcast his whereabouts when possible. Name dropping does not open doors that are closed. For example, if your manager is traveling unexpectedly and you must get him the presidential suite in the Posh Hotel, dropping his famous name alert hotel management and maybe provide additional option. However, keep this practice to minimum in order to respect your manager's privacy. In addition, do not power trip on your manager's name. That demonstrates lack of professionalism and is just a plain childish. Influencing the manager. You do not like one of your coworkers. Therefore, you try to influence your manager to fire him. You do it in a nonchalant way by dropping hints. If something goes wrong on your project, you mention that person was involved even if they were not. Eventually, your managers fire him. Being conservative, abusing your position as a trusted assistant for petty personal reason is ridiculous and immature. Being liberal, when someone loses their job under false pretense due to communication, that is your manager's fault, not for taking the time for a full investigation. What a human being does not try to influence the opinion of their friends and superior when they face someone whom they find distasteful. There is nothing wrong with communicating your feelings to your manager. However, lying about the feelings of others is a different story. This will not only cause an innocent to suffer, but once the truth comes out, you will lose the trust of your manager. Access to company resources. Managers often grant their trusted assistant full access to corporate resources, including corporate credit cards, telephone, office supplies, data, and much more. Trusted assistants perform all the logistical legwork for the manager. Therefore, a great deal of access is required. Free long distance. Do you think twice about it? Your manager travels most of the time and you remain in the office to answer his calls. It can be quite boring. You have full access to phone lines and no one check if you are to make your personal calls. Since you are completely bored, do you take advantage of his phone access and call your family friends for long distance? Being conservative, abusing company resources is never an ethical choice. Attempting to justify this behavior by claiming that you are bored is a joke. Being liberal, everyone makes a personal call or two from work. Using company phone is an everyday occurrence for most employees. Even though the liberal point is true to some degree, it does not make ethically correct. Using company resources for personal means is unethical. However, that does not change the fact that nearly everyone does it and does not think about it. Corporate credit cards. Should you presume? Your manager uses the corporate credit card to purchase his lunch. He has the approval from senior management to do so. He usually buys you lunch when he is in the office because you never get away from your desk to get the cafeteria. Since you have a full access of the corporate credit cards, it is appropriate for you to use them to buy yourself lunch when your manager is out of the office. Being conservative, if your manager decides to take a risk and purchase your lunch with the corporate credit cards, that is his business and his ethical choice. Being liberal, your manager has set a precedent and he can hardly blame you for following it. As long as you can get away with it, buy your lunch on the corporate credit card. Issue is on the gravy side compared to the ethical issue of using company telephone for long distance calls. Your manager has the approval to purchase lunch on the corporate credit cards and buys you lunch as well because you are too busy to leave your desk. It could be easily justified that if you are equally busy when your manager is away from the office that you can use the credit card to buy yourself lunch. On the other hand, it is not your money, which is glaring ethical issue. It is the best to ask formal permission that presume authority in this matter. Temporary employee in the role of a trusted assistant. How much access should they have? You are a senior management and your normal trusted assistant is on a maternity leave. Their circumstance requires you to hire a temporary employee for 6 weeks. For proper job performance, the temporary trusted assistant needs to have a significant amount of access. Being conservative. A temporary employee is not as invested in you or your business as a permanent trusted assistant. There are security risks with providing them with too much information. Being liberal, if you want the temporary employee to get the job done a manner similar to that to your trusted assistant, you must supply them with necessary access. Limiting access will result in lower work performance and support. Utilizing temporary personnel is a very common practice in a big business. Everyone handles temporary employees differently. Some managers grant them the same access as the personal trusted assistant. Others significantly limit access the power temporary employee. Unfortunately, senior management learned the ethical lesson of temporary work of a case-by-case basis. So this is the end of my part and I am Jolly R. Bagtok.